Welcome to Bodix Builds. Today we'll be building a DIY Jeep bed. I have attached a link to purchase the Jeep bed plans below. It is very detailed and easy to follow with all of the necessary measurements and a complete material list. So we will start by drawing out all of our measurements for the Jeep body cutouts. It is very important that you get these measurements as close to perfect as possible. Since this body is larger, it's good to have a long straight edge for the straighter lines. I like to use anything I can find that's at least 6 foot long. Once you have these measurements taken, we will begin our cutting. I suggest you use a circular saw here. If you're not comfortable with that, you could always use a jigsaw. The lines may not be as straight, but you could sand it down straighter afterwards if necessary. Another thing is you should probably wear eye protection. I am not sure that I had any on here. And always be careful when using the plunge cut, as it can shoot back at you. Once you vacuum it up and clean it up really good, you can get these corners that the circular saw wouldn't get. You can just jigsaw those out. Give it a nice fine cut all the way through. And then you have your first side door. After that, you can trace the left side to the right side and begin cutting that out as well, following the steps that we just did. And following that, we'll be cutting out the front and rear panel. This will be right out of the excess of plywood that we just cut our sides out of. Again, you can use a circular saw, a track saw, which would get you the straightest lines, or a jigsaw, which is typically a little harder to run them straight. Next step, we're going to do a little bit of routing just to get those edges rounded out for just a more finished look. This step isn't necessary, but I find that it just looks a lot better when they are smooth and round, especially if your child will be getting in and out. It just makes for a softer edge. And once everything is routed out, we will find our compass for cutting edges and rounding off the front panel for the Jeep. This is what I found most useful, is just to jigsaw this to make that nice round corner. And again, we will router that to get a nice finish on the edges. That'll be for both sections of the front panel. And here I made a little template just to make it easier for the grill pattern. You can make this out of anything. I chose to use a little flat piece of wood just to get the exact grill inserts the same every time. Then we will cut those out. I'm still trying to figure out if I like the circular saw here or the jigsaw better. I think I actually prefer the jigsaw, even though it doesn't cut so straight. But with the sanding, you can kind of manipulate the wood to straighten out. So either one will work there. Probably a little quicker to actually use the jigsaw. And then next you'll want to sand it really good. Just get it sanded down for the inside, and it'll also straighten it out. But you want to make sure you get inside those really well. And then from there, we're going to get the router back out and router the inside slots only on one side. The back side that goes against the front panel can remain flat. It'll look a lot better. And then again, more sanding. You will probably get tired of sanding after this project, but it's very necessary. Here I'm cutting out some body blocks and also the side frame rail for the bottom of the side of the Jeep, and we will attach that nice and straight. You want to make sure you get that as perfect as possible so the other pieces line up. Once you have that in place, you can screw them all together, and that will support that side of the bed. We'll then attach the body blocks to the panels and connect all four of these together. This is the front side, and then we will do the same for the back. Make sure you pre-drill these holes before you insert screws, otherwise your wood's going to split. Here we are at the back, doing pretty much the same thing, attaching to these studs in the corners to hold the Jeep together. And now we're starting to look like a Jeep here. Next we'll add the top frame. This is a major support for the side walls to keep them from breaking as your child gets in and out. Next we will cut the bumper, front and rear, and have those pieces ready to assemble. And once we have these pieces cut, we'll go ahead and assemble the bottom and top bumper to the front of the Jeep. And we can cut our flares out, which is very crucial to get these measurements exactly as it says on the plans. These angles all line up perfectly. It's just that you have to make sure your angles are lined up on your miter saw to get the exact cut. If for some reason they're not perfect, you can use some wood filler to fill in any gaps that you might have and sand it down. More sanding. Once you have these pieces cut out, we can go ahead and stack a couple of blocks up to get the right height, or just measure it out and screw it in. And once you get that first section done, you can move along all the way to the back and assemble the flares in order. And this will be done on both sides, screwing in from the inside to the outside so there won't be any screws showing from the outside. And I also like to fill these in later with a little wood putty and sand it down so these screws aren't exposed inside, and it just looks a lot cleaner. Once you paint over it, you can't even tell that this was even assembled. Looks great. So there we have the complete first half of the project. I will be setting up another video for the completion of this Jeep, and I hope you check us out. Thanks.